financial protections. This one comes up a lot, and one of the financial protections is a 6% interest cap, and that works several ways. Its main purpose, though, is to limit interest that a service member would pay on installment contracts, credit cards, mortgages, and such to 6%.
Question.
Yes.
If one has an obligation, say a credit card debt, does that interest on that drop to 6% when the person is inducted?
It is. If that debt was incurred prior to their entry into active service, that's when it applies, right? So they can give that creditor, and I'll go into this a little bit more, a copy of their orders and explain to them that they've been mobilized, put on active federal service, and that creditor will be required to lower the interest rate to 6%. And in so doing, they can't accelerate payments, or it has to be lowered at a time. The payment has to be decreased accordingly to the 6%. And again, these are steps that the service member should follow to ask for that 6% interest rate cap. Again, material effect, that was mentioned before, is prevalent throughout the SCRA. The burden, however, is showing that the service member should not get the 6% because they are not materially affected is on the creditor. So the creditor would have to bring the action in court saying, hey, and prove that the service member is not materially affected. And here's some examples. This will kind of illustrate the difference between soldiers already on active duty and soldiers that have these debts incurred prior to entering active duty. So an active Army soldier financed an automobile at 9% prior to entering active duty. So that should be lowered to 6%. I mean, are they materially affected? I mean, that's another issue. Regardless, they should ask for the interest rate reduction. They've got nothing to lose. And here's another example. Army Reserve soldier purchased home at 7.5% in 2001, was mobilized for active duty to Iraq in 2007. I think that's a pretty safe bet that they are materially affected, and the creditor should lower that interest rate, or is required under the Act to lower that interest rate to 6%. Here's another example. It's kind of the same situation as there. He took out, Sergeant Jones took out $50,000 business loans, 8% in 2004. Mobilizes to active duty at Fort Riley in 2006. Doesn't matter whether they're in Iraq or if they're in the States. The creditor is still required to lower it to 6%. Again, here's some other protections that are afforded. This can't adversely affect their credit report or credit rating. The creditor cannot deny insurance coverage. The insurance provider cannot deny insurance coverage. Leases, evictions, installment contracts, and mortgages. Some of this is going to touch on landlord-tenant issues that another presenter is going to go into. What this basically, the SCRA allows service members to break leases when they are mobilized for active federal service, and this applies to all pre-service leases, such as residential, and also now to car leases as well. And the protection is afforded when the person receives their orders, and they will notify that they'll be mobilized or deployed for 90 days or more. And this requires written notice to the creditor with a copy of their orders. Washington State actually has their own lease termination provision for military members contained in the RCWs. However, that one is less protective than the SCRA. Where the SCRA applies, it's a federal act.
You don't happen to have the RCW citation?
Not offhand, but if you go into the landlord-tenant, well, okay. So Additionally, the dependent's lease, the dependent is the family member of the service member. And landlords cannot hold dependents liable on a joint lease. I will try not to spend too much time because they're going to go into landlord-tenant a lot more detail here. But here's terminate an automobile lease. This can be accomplished when the soldier's going to be mobilized on active federal service for 90 days or more, and again materially affected, but burden is on the creditor to prove that. And so they can terminate it if entering. Oh, on this one it's 180 days or more. But again, this lease had to be entered before they were mobilized or put into active federal service. And the requirements here: written notice with orders, and they must return the lease vehicle within 15 days of the notice. And evictions. And there is an actual cap on evictions. If the rent that the service member or family member is paying is in excess of $2,720, this act does not apply to them. Installment contracts prohibits self-help repossession of items on installment contract. Again, these installment contracts must have been entered pre-mobilization. And here's some common examples. And if a creditor or a person that has the installment contract with the service member wants to repossess, they have to go to the court, and the court must issue a court order before they do so. Mortgages, again, the Act covers mortgages, prohibits foreclosure without a court order, and again, pre-service, pre-federal mobilization.